Hello, friends. This is John Klein, third of episode 188 of Shadow and Flame with Magic, the podcast. And today we're going to review Fantastic Four First Steps, celebrate Wakanda Forever, the animated series, by reviewing Black Panther Volume 422, and the other two comics that came out this last week. So let's get into it. We saw Fantastic Four First Steps, fantastic movie, pun intended. Um, There was a moment when Sue, we find out it spoilers for Fantastic Four First Steps. They go into space because Silver Surfer has come to the Earth. Um, and they're gonna go, as the Herald of Galactus. My wife elbows me about like, should pregnant Sue Storm go into space? And I'm like, well, she's the strongest member of the Fantastic Four, so they need her to go to space. Like that's just the mission. And I love so much how the movie shows, like, without a doubt, Sue Storm, Sue Richards, is the strongest member of the Fantastic Four, bar no problems at all. Um, we get a great ABC montage in the beginning of the movie, which at first I was like, ABC, that's an odd choice. And I was like, oh no, Disney owns ABC. Of course, that's the network they're going to go with. And we finally got the I don't know, a sequence I always want in every superhero movie where it's like, give me a history of the X-Men or these characters and who they fought. Like in Far From Home, when like Toby and Andrew are talking to Tom Holland about like, oh yeah, these are the people we fought, and it's literally only the people we've seen them fight, where it's like they didn't fight anyone else. Like that's disappointing. Or in Dark Knight Rises, when you find out Batman gave up being Batman for 8 years, but he was only Batman for 16 months. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's what we're doing? Like, these are opportunities where you could be like, no, we've done all these adventures. And, like, they fought Mole Man, who's very fun with Sue Richards. They've, they fought Red Ghost and his space ghost, space apes. Apparently there was a John Malkovich scene that apparently was filmed but wasn't given the CGI treatment. So people are thinking there's like 30 minutes of this movie that are unseen. But I don't know. Like Superman, there was 20 minutes into the movie. I was like, well, this is just a real movie. Because I don't know. I keep having this moment in my head of like, well, what's the difference from a 2 hour TV pilot and a movie? And I'm like, well, maybe it's just budget and scope. But it's like they do so much in this movie where I'm like, this would have been Act One of another, like in a different movie. This would have been like part of it would have been the third. I don't know. There's this Twitter comment someone made about if there was a show called Surfing Vampire back in the 90s, we would have had 22 episodes about a surfing vampire. But nowadays, we would have had 8 episodes, and maybe we've been lucky by episode 8 where the vampire even started surfing. And it's like, yeah, we're in a weird moment in media where things are either drawn out or, I don't know, they're condensed. And this movie and Superman are just movies that are like, yeah, we're going you gave us 2 hours, we're going to entertain you, and this movie was highly entertaining. We still haven't seen Thunderbolts, but the post credit scene, I read online where people are like, well, this doesn't set up well with the Thunderbolts post credit scene. And then watching the post credit scene for Thunderbolts, I was like, oh, now I got a little spoiled on the Thunderbolts movie. But that's on me for watching a spoiler or a in credit sequence to a movie I didn't watch. Hopefully, it comes to Disney Plus. I heard it was either going to be July, end of July, or early August, and we've blown through or July, so now we got August. So maybe here we'll watch it. Um, There's a moment where they talk about clobbering time is set on the animated show, but they never do or it's a big buildup of like, is he gonna say clobbering time? And it makes me realize we never got a flame on. Well, I thought we did, but someone online said how the actor kept saying so much, like he practiced saying flame on in various different ways, and then they've never said it. I was like, oh, I thought he did. Great cast. Joseph Quinn as Human Torch, Vanessa Kirby as amazing Invisible Woman. Pedro Pascal, great as Reed Richards, but I feel like I never stopped thinking of him as Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. So it's just like, whereas Egon Gufford from the original Fox movies, he's just a perfect Reed Richards. Like I just buy him. Maybe it's the shape of his head or something, but he's my Reed Richards. Pedro Pascal did not dethrone him. I'm forgetting the actor who did Ben Grimm, and I don't watch The Bear, but he did a fantastic job as well. That's the only adjective I know for this movie review. Um, the Fantastic Four post-credit scene gives us a cloaked Doom with no face reveal, but that's fun. There was moments throughout the movie where we see the delegates or countries, and that area does not have a delegate present. So I was like, okay, we're building up to it. The movie is set place in a fun retro or futuristic '60s aesthetic, which reminds me of like the Fallout '50s future aesthetic, and how that just works well for my brain. And they make a big point saying this is like Earth 828 or something. And so that all just works for me. Galactus is coming. They go into space. They meet Galactus, who is all in gray, which I'm like, well, that's unfortunate. I thought the whole point was to be fun. Like we're not embarrassed by the comic source anymore. We're gonna do it. And on the way back of being spanked, essentially, Sue gives birth to Franklin. Which at one moment I was like, well, they gotta take off her clothes at one point because she's gonna give birth. And then literally, as I have that thought, you see her legs kicking her pants off. And I'm like, oh, well, there you go. They're gonna do this. Which at first I was like, oh, poor Johnny. Like, keep your eyes. Which is smart of the plot to be like Johnny has to help Ben with the piloting to get back to Earth. It's like, oh yeah, brother is not gonna see anything he doesn't want to see. And oh, it's just a great movie. I'm trying to think of other plot points, and then they get an entire world together to give up resources and power savings to trick Galactus, or they're going to teleport the Earth deep in space, and then that falls apart. Which at first I thought maybe it was Doctor Doom being like, I'm not going to go along with this plan. This is a poor plan. But in fact, it's Silver Surfer breaking everything, which is like this poor planet gave up all this stuff. And then they're not even like those resources. I mean, I guess they got to recycle them. But because they can't teleport the entire planet, they're going to teleport Galactus. And Galactus um, shows up, and Sue just like beats him essentially to get him into the portal square block, which is a weird thing because like they have 37 seconds to do the plant the to open the portal, which is weird as they needed 20 seconds to get the planet teleported, and clearly 20 seconds was way too many seconds. Like it was enough time, and then 37 turns out in a row was too many seconds as Galactus starts coming back through the portal, which I thought was a weird thing because they use Franklin for bait because Galactus is under the impression that if they have um Galactus is under the impression Franklin can take his hunger from him, which is weird. But so as soon as he's a bait, he's going to like they burn Galactus's eyes. They take Franklin from his baby cage and carriage and put him into the safe Fantastic Four building. But it's like, why didn't you just put him across the street, so Galactus would have at least made like, oh, there he is. Let me take two more steps. And I don't know. It was an odd choice, and I don't know why they did it. Um, but Sue's like, you're not going to take my kid, and keeps shoving Galactus into the portal, and she like passes out from it. Oh yeah, there's a great moment where Galactus comes to Earth, falls into the ocean, or jumps into the ocean, comes out, and you see the glorious purples and blues of Galactus's proper form. And I'm like, okay, we did it. Thank you. Which was odd because we saw the commercial where we see the Galactus boot, and it was like, whoa, okay. Um, and then Sue passes out. Galactus is gone. Human Torch is going to sacrifice himself, but Silver Surfer pushes him out of the way and then does the final thrust into the portal. And then we're led to believe, well, no, I'm pretty sure Sue dies, and then Franklin's baby power, and they never call him a mutant, which is like, oh, that's unfortunate. Like we could have used the musical cue one more time. And yeah, baby brings mommy back. We jump 5 years in the future, and there's a very long sequence where they try to put the baby seat into the Fantastic Car. That if you have a kid, you know how long it takes to put a baby seat in. And then it made sense to me, like, yeah, three guys trying to do it, they're just going to be stopping each other from doing it the whole time. And yeah, and the movie ends, and the end credit sequence of Doctor Doom, and we're off to not know because I thought for sure in sequence would be a portal opens up, takes the Fantastic Four family, and so now that's a whole different story. And I guess spoilers for the Thunderbolts, but like we see in that movie, the Fantastic spaceship is coming to our Earth, so it's like okay. And then we got Doomsday to look forward to. Oh, and we saw the Tom Holland new Spider-Man suit from Brand New Day. It looks like it has the gorgeous blues that we saw at the end of Far From Home. And it looks like we got teased earlier in the week about the textured raised texture that I guess people really wanted from the Toby suit. And it looks like he has the Andrew Garfield long leg, daddy long leg spider symbol. So it looks like a mesh of different costumes that Tom's just gonna own, which I guess makes sense when you meet two alternate universe versions of yourself who are older than you. Probably want to emulate them. And so yeah, we got that movie in July. I have an idea what four comics I want to buy or use for it that I already own. But I do want to take the opportunity to have a new Spider-Man movie come out that I want to buy um, comics for. I do have a set of comics I want to buy for Fantastic Four, but we might have to wait until after the summer when we're in a better financial location. But yeah, I got plans for just and a whole litany of just back issues I want to buy. So hopefully, come October, we start buying things and get ourselves set up for 2026. And I think that's all my Fantastic Four thoughts. So let's get into Black Panther Volume 422. I saw the first episode, Wakanda Forever. It is odd to me that they released all four episodes at once instead of one at a time. It seems like they did the same thing of Ironheart, where they broke it off into two halves. And it's like, oh, I wonder why they didn't Daredevil release it, but here we are. This comic is rated T plus. It will cost you 299 pennies or 375 cans. It came out in January 2007. So we get a nice previously. Unfiltered by the Yoko colonization, the African warrior nation of Wakanda flourished and became a high-tech, resource-rich, ecologically sound paradise, one that makes the rest of the world seem primitive in comparison. Ruling over this kingdom are the Black Panther and his queen, Storm. The Black Panther is more than just a head of state. The leader of a warrior cult, the Black Panther, is an embodiment of the ideals of a people. While T'Challa's marriage to Storm was a happy occasion, the couple has reminded that Wakanda faces difficult times ahead. Now, more than ever, Wakanda needs the Black Panther to preserve its integrity and guide its people through the political minefield created by the Civil War in the United States. To assure the fears of those who would have seen them as a threat and to ensure Wakanda's security in a world rocked by civil war, the Black Panther and Storm thought it best to embark upon a diplomatic tour amongst the larger centers of global powers. The couple's first stop was Latveria, where they were drawn into battle in their longtime adversary, Doctor Doom. The second, the Moon, to serve as counsel to the Inhuman royal family. And their most recent visit, Atlantis, where Namor succeeded T'Challa, the global resistance against the American Superhuman Resistance Act. And this is brought to us by. Oh, and you can follow along on my YouTube or TikTok channels at Jacko SIII. And this is World Tour Part 4 Inside Man, written by Reginald Hudlin, pencils by Manuel Garcia, inks by Jay Lyston and Sean Parsons, colors by Matt Mila, letters VC's Randy Gentile, assistant editor Daniel Ketchum, editor Axel Alonso, chief Chokasada, and Dan Buckley is the publisher. And the issue opens up with um, Jim Rhodes, who knows Rhodey, the war machine, and he's narrating about how he's in charge of the Sentinel One program because this is post decimation, and the X Men have decided to sit out of the Civil War nonsense as Iron Man and nope, Tony Stark Iron Man versus Steve Rogers Captain America. We see in the war tour they stop by London, England on the Thames so they can talk to Captain Britain, the boy one, Brian, and he's going to set out of the American Civil War as well. He thinks T'Challa and Storm should too, but they are committed to doing this. And so they're going to come to America. They go Black Panther asks the Storm how the conversation of the X-Men went, where she talked to Emma, and Emma says, "Sorry, Storm. Like I told Tony, we're sitting this one out." What does that mean, sitting this one out? It means that after the Scarlet Witch reshaped reality, mutants don't need any more image problems, and sad to say. But the screw up in Stanford, this whole Civil War actually takes the heat off us. Lets the public know that all kind of superpowered folk make mistakes, not just mutants. So rather than join with your fellow heroes, you would let them be imprisoned to teach the world a lesson? In a world storm, yes. We don't have secret identities. There's no reason. There's a reason I go by Emma Frost and not Diamond Last for once. It's not our fight. Which is a good point. Like, where do X Men have secret identities? Miss Marvel's doing with one right now, trying to keep being a mutant and Miss Marvel and being Kamala Khan uh, all in balance. But for a reason, we get this panel of Kitty Pryde just listening to the conversation, like as a weird spy. Like, why wasn't she just in the room with Storm and Emma as a proper like triad of or the trinity of ex ladies? And she has very derpy eyes in this panel, which I always like to use online for any example of like, look at odd comic takes, and it's what maybe an inker could have centered her eye, or maybe the colorist could have colored it, but instead, I don't know, she just has one eye looking at us, the reader, and the other eye just on Emma, I suppose. I'm not sure what that's about. And meanwhile, the White House, there's people excited about the recently married couple, and then there's people who are against them coming. And there's a double page ad for a car ad here that I do not understand cars advertising in comic books. Like someone's supposed to read a comic and then be like, you know what, I'm gonna take this to the car dealership and be like, sell me this car. But this Shield officer asks Rowdy about his thoughts on Black Panther, which he's like, why? Because I'm black, and it's like, oof, like no, just asking questions. And then the White House wants to ask Storm to register because the president can't be seen with any non-registered superheroes. Black Panther immediately clocks this as a lousy thing for Tony to do. And then there's commotion outside as these new Sentinels are about. They look like they're Wakandan Sentinels. And because the Sentinels at the Xavier Institute are just pure red Sentinels, but these are not those. They look like just giant robots with a Wakanda headdress, which I'm not sure why that is it. I guess. Okay, and then here's another two-page ad of a different car like advertisement. There was like, all right. And so Storm's breaking them down. T'Challa's trying to fight them. But he's just a man. Iron Man shows up to be like, T'Challa, stand down, or we're gonna put you down. Which then T'Challa goes to make a costume change, so Iron Man turns his attention to Storm. And then T'Challa shows up in a pretty cool anti-Iron Man suit. So I guess Storm doesn't have to like embarrass Tony with an immediate battle. Rhodey shows up to try to get them all to stop fighting. That he's not dead or crippled. Though I think this is way too early for. Oh no, no! Of course, this is Civil War, so we haven't gotten to the Captain America Civil War film. And T'Challa is committed to continuing his war tour, and he's not leaving America, and so that's what they're gonna do. So yeah, not a bad issue. I got it for that one panel of Kitty Pryde because that's how easy it is to get me to buy a comic. And that everyone was Black Panther Volume 4 issue 22, which I guess will be easy for me to promote online with just the cover image and the Kitty Pryde page. Or panel. So last week we only got two issues, Savage Wolverine 1, which was a reprint, or no, I'm sorry, a first time printed digital comic, which we need to buy all of these so that we can finally get lovable Lockheed in a comic, or in as a physical print. And I say we, but I did not buy Savage Wolverine. This would be volume 2, so I had to go back to my issue 11, 12 and 13 images to call those volume 1. This was 8-part issue digital comic, so clearly a 6-part comic can be exist. And making sure we're still recording. And so pretty much instead of fighting a Joe Rogan like podcaster, he's fighting a Joe Rogan radio caster. And the city's been this is literally the first Wolverine Logan story after the fall of the first Krakoan age. And so he's just on the road, just on his motorcycle, comes across the city, that's on its last legs, but has a very popular radio host who tells the whole city to do what he wants. And so only places opens a bar and people sit at home having anti-mutant thoughts put into their heads. And Logan meets a guy who's a mutant in hiding because the whole city hates him, but he's from the city, so he doesn't want to give up on it. And lots of fight, fight, fight. They get to the radio tower. That's, of course, 8 floors high. And so they got to fight their way all the way up. And, they kill the guy. The guy's Logan's new friends. Like, I'm going to get the city back on its feet. And that's the issue. So it's Solo Wolverine. So if you like Solo Wolverine, this is a comic for you. And the other comic that came out was Spider-Man and Wolverine 3, and I'm pretty sure the first issue of this showed Mysterio. So I'm under the impression this whole place is a mortar world that they're just in different cities or locations. That's actually just different hubs and of a mortal world situation. And Spider-Man's still mad because there's a idea that Wolverine killed his parents. And so they're in the Savage Land. Spider-Man's in his all black suit and Wolverine's in his brown and tan suit. So they're just in cool classic suits. Um they just fought Craven the Hunter and Omega Red, which is a fun, pairing of their two Russian villains. And now they're just in the Savage Land trying to dodge dinosaurs. And Fireman's just in his deep feelings about his pal Wolverine killing his parents. And then the issue ends with them going to China where Doc Ock is for some reason. And I really feel like we're just in that area where clearly this is Mortal World or Mysterio having a big, arena type of base to put his enemies on to keep fighting each other. And I can only imagine this will end with Logan not being the murderer of the Peter Parker parents. So, yeah, that was the comics of this week or last week. I mean, it's fun reading a Spider-Man comic, but yeah, like that was it. But this upcoming week is going to be a proper full week of comics. I rated the top five. So we have Ultimate Wolverine 8, which the preview pages shows us that Ultimate Sprite's going to be there, so we're locked in. We have Wolverine by Chris Claremont, which was part of the Paragon collection. The preview pages from months ago show Kitty Pryde and Lockheed, so we're locked in for that. Number three, Uncanny X-Men 19. It has Deadpool and Outlaw. So Outlaw and Deadpool written by Gail Simone. Pretty great. Ultimate X-Men 18 by Peach Momoko. That's going to just continue to be great. One War Under Doom 6 as we head to the finale of that series that ends in November, I want to say. And then we have Helverine 9. Wolverines and Deadpool's. Oh, I didn't write the issue number. I want to say it's 2. Yeah, I want to say it's 2. And it's two of a three-part series, so I want to say it's not over yet. So this is part 2. And Storm 11 that kicks off Thunder War. War, if you want to pronounce it correctly. So yeah, that is the comics of this week I'm looking forward to. And yeah, so you can follow